It's another loaded pod. We are recapping all the behind the scenes from last week's PPA Desert Ridge.
And we're answering the best single piece of advice we've ever received from another top pickleball pro.
And who is the rocket in pickleball that is rocketing away with millions of dollars of investors' money?
Yikes. And what exactly did Pat Smith tweet that got him banned from the PPA Desert Ridge?
Lastly, which one of our top players to watch predictions crushed it last week?
Duh, we're finishing with a Dear Jilly B to help you finally calm those tournament nerves.
Kristin, it's Pod 34.
We're ready to roar.
And it's not going to be
a bore.
Let's go.
This Pickleball Life.
Welcome, everybody, to your favorite comedy podcast disguised as a pickleball podcast with me, KDubs, a.k.a. Kristin Walla, a.k.a. this one's other half and co-host of This Pickleball Life.
Yo, what up? It's your girl, Jilly B, a.k.a. Jill Braverman, pro pickleballer, former tech CEO and startup founder, and most importantly, co-host of TPL, This Pickleball Life. Kristin, it's Pod 34. Awesome. Let's get into In Case You Missed It.
Wait, before you missed it, in case you didn't notice, I have truncated our theme song. And I have a proposition for all of you because we have had a couple of comments, both directions, and I don't want anyone feeling like they are being left out. So here is my proposition. If 100 comments write in with their favorite lyric to our original theme song, for example, she's sweet to me, but on the court, she's a killer, I will bring back the full theme song. On the other hand, if you are super happy to see it go, you can comment, white girls can't rap, and I will not bring back the original theme song, but I will rewrite a new theme song.
Proving that white girls can rap?
We're going to find out.
Can the new theme song, can I have a line?
Yeah, you had all the lines in the first one, too.
No, but like I want to like...
like a Jilly B on the mic.
On the mic. Can I go on the mic?
Yeah. Maybe that's what the people really want is like a tag team song.
And that's when
you
we lost all of our listeners.
Man. You know how like at the end of the phrase, it's like, she's sweet to me, but on the court, she's a
killer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we will leave it up to you. 100 comments.
I hope that we film a new one. That sounds fun.
Not only that, but we will be sending a tumbler to 2 lucky winners with our signature line, Pickleball is Joy, and our TPL logo on the side.
If they comment.
To anyone who comments regarding the theme
What if
song.
they say white girls can't rap?
I will still make them eligible for the tumbler.
I like it. All right, in case you missed it, we were right. Our top pros that we talked about in the last pod, our top pros to watch, they kind of slayed it at the PPA Desert Ridge last week.
Duh.
Augie.
Guh. Fun fact, that's how you pronounce the last name G-E. Guh, like duh.
So sorry, Augie, that we were putting you in the category of ghee butter last week. We know better now.
Yeah.
Duh.
Whereas I like to point out, if you say G, you're not technically wrong because it's the first letter of his last name, like
Fair.
Jilly B.
Fair. Speaking of, your girl, Jilly B, didn't do too bad either last week. Hashtag qualifying queen over
That's
here.
right.
Maybe just change my Instagram handle.
Yeah, no more
Qualifying
tweener
warrior.
Queen. It's qualifying queen.
Yeah,
and
there
thanks
you
to your
go.
other royal, the tweener king, you also left the bruise queen.
Which we'll talk about later. In case you missed it, my former MLP partner, Benny Bombs, aka Ben Newell, he was spotted at Phoenix Desert Ridge playing with Jay DeVilliers. Kristin, why was that?
Yeah, last minute sub for if you haven't noticed, Jay DeVilliers has reunited with his old best bud. That's right. One sleever, Pat Smith, in solidarity, was removed from the field last minute because he said some, I guess, unsavory things towards the PPA, aka the truth, and which we talked about on the pod, which was that there were no bronze matches. And he wrote to explain that nobody withdrew. and that they were told that they couldn't play on
This is
Saturday.
about the PPA Masters. So Pat Smith tweeted something, right?
So his exact words were, just an update. No one withdrew. The men's bronze medal match not happening had nothing to do with any of us players. We wanted to play and asked to play at the original start time of 10 a.m., but they wanted to be streamed and moved the start time to 11. So
he was banned from the next event last minute for tweeting that?
Yes. And our good friend Megan over at Today in Pickleball made the juxtaposition of an interesting non-ban when Tyson tweeted that the serve rule needs to go, the Vulcan ball needs to go. Mind you, there's a 3-year, $10 million contract with Vulcan, so I don't think that's going anywhere. And he likes the progression draw. But
it's funny. I find myself agreeing less and less with most of what Tyson is saying.
Interesting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But back to Pat Smith, will you be keeping one sleeve up for how long in solidarity with Pat Smith?
Secret one sleeve underneath my big sleeve.
Oh my gosh.
If you want to follow Pat Smith, he did a smart thing in a world where his name is Pat Smith, which is only second to John Smith in similarities. So his last name, he is truncated to SMI. Pat's Me.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you're looking for him on Facebook, look for Pat's Me.
In case you missed it, Big Papa Jimmy, James Ignatowicz, with one of the most incredible shots I have ever seen in pickleball. One of those shots you can't even cook up in your imagination. That just happens so organically. He made SportsCenter top 10. Did he make
Number one? Number one, yeah.
Amazing. Congrats to Big Papa Jimmy.
I mean, if you look at the history of the SportsCenter top 10 clips that have included pickleball, almost all of them are ATPs, which is just to say, pickleball is just a running highlight show. In the comments, I think it was Thomas who hit the cross-court dink that produced that.
So he really gets credit.
And so he's like, good thing I've been practicing those cross-court violent dinks. Well, not enough for the wingspan of Big Papa Jimmy. So basically he ran it down. The ball was in front of him running backwards. And so he hit kind of a backwards, what do you even call that?
He
hit with the bottom side of his
paddle face.
A paddle flipper. I guess we're just going to have to call it the Big Papa Jimmy. In case you missed it, the Pickleball Slam took place this week. So I guess John McEnroe hates pickleball enough that he can't get away from it. But thanks to the ringers they brought in, Jack Sock took the victory. They gave away these signed hard rock guitars, and clearly they were like, shoot, we added a third person. Someone grab a guitar off the shelf because his did not match theirs at all. But good to see. I think viewership was good. Not quite as good as the first, but proving that people are interested. A few of our friends even went in person.
In case you missed it, Pickleball Rocks, a business founded by someone dubbed as an ultimate pickleball ambassador, Rodney Rocket Grubbs, is accused of leveraging his trust in his local pickleball community to persuade investors to inject funds into his apparel and equipment venture, Pickleball Rocks. So Pickleball Union reports, while the total number of investors affected is unknown, one person involved in the scheme told the Indie Star she estimated 120 people from across the US and Canada and Portugal had handed over several millions of dollars to Grubbs in exchange for promissory notes. Butler invested $90,000 in Grubbs' pickleball enterprise and represents a cohort of Florida residents enticed by the prospect of a 12% return over 18 months. I am here to warn you, listeners and viewers, anyone advertising a 12% return over 18 months, probably want to double check that. Always troublesome to invest also with friends. And I think what makes pickleball so interesting right now is it's this once in a generation opportunity, and a lot of people are trying to get a seat on the business rocket ship that it does present. And when I met the absolute brilliant Bahram Akradi, the CEO and founder of Lifetime, someone who believes in pickleball so much he's been willing to put his money where his mouth is and invest over $500 million in the creation of courts across the country at his facilities. when he explained pickleball to me, he said, Jill, most often in business, you throw the ball and you've got to throw the ball to yourself. You've got to throw it, run, and catch it. Mm-hmm. In pickleball, you just open your arms and the ball is being thrown to you.
Fire hose.
You don't even have to create the opportunity. It's the fire hose, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting way. Most of the time, you got to throw it to yourself. You've got to create the opportunity. Just open up your arms and catch it.
Yeah.
And so I
think
a lot of people feel that inherently and intrinsically and want to be able to put their dollars into these opportunities that seem so attractive, but don't forget, can be very dangerous too.
Yeah. I mean, I think in investing, it's always best to consider it to be slightly closer to gambling than to any kind of guarantee. And if you invest an amount of money that you are prepared to lose, you often gain more than you expected. But if you invest an amount of money that will destroy your financial security, probably
don't do it.
Not a good idea. I mean, it's a catch-22. You read all these,
Well, pickleball is just
Musk
still really speculative. All
Nike.
of pickleball, pro pickleball is still speculative.
Totally. But you read so many of these, histories of businesses that have been huge successes and they had hugely vulnerable moments in their life. And you're like, okay, that's normal. The way people are like, well, Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. And so I should keep failing for 12 years as an adult trying to pursue a career in pro sports. But sometimes the truth is just too obvious to ignore. But God bless anyone out there trying to invest in pickleball. Keep it coming. And hopefully this is more of a unique outlier than anything. But anyone with Rocket in their middle name can't be trusted. In case you missed it, we have now been unveiled a future sports league that is calling itself the Enhanced Games. Yes, enhanced as in steroids and steroids encouraged.
What?
And it's basically an
serious?
answer to the Olympics, which some Silicon Valley, speaking of investors, including Peter Thiel, think have kind of overswung the pendulum towards testing, and they want to support the science of making the human body
biohacking.
Yeah, its ultimate beast. And so, yeah, the Enhanced Games will be a limited number of sports, not including pickleball. But let's be honest, there's no steroid testing in pickleball.
So it's track
right now,
and
pickleball
field.
is the Enhanced Games.
So it's track and field, swimming. Yeah, that's funny. Weightlifting, gymnastics, and combat sports.
Yeah. So I guess that's like MMA.
The Enhanced Games?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not going to lie. I'm very intrigued.
Will they publish a list of like the drugs or the supplements that are allowed, or anything's allowed?
I think kind of anything's allowed.
So it's pickleball.
Yeah, exactly.
So pickleball doesn't need to be a part of the Enhanced Games because it already is.
Exactly. You're getting the best of the best science can offer.
So cities wouldn't have to bid to have the games because it's going to be smaller, and the cost would maybe be like 50 million to run these events instead of 100 billion. Is that how much it costs to run the Olympics?
Yep. That's how big it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. We have Winter and Summer Olympics split up, but I almost wonder if they should split the Olympics even farther and just have some Olympic sports every year, and every 4 years your sport comes back. And that way they wouldn't have to have like these massive, massive events. But obviously that's what they're going for. So who am I to say? But yeah, be on the lookout for the Enhanced Games.
So catching up personally, Chris and I have made some life changes in the past week and a half since our last pod. So
me being unafraid to change, I always embrace new and fun ideas and have realized in my adult life that is not very common.
You're such a weirdo.
I am.
Who likes change?
I don't know, but I guess you like people who like change.
I'm getting dumped. So we are trying to learn how to meditate. I've been into this, nootropic and biohacking kind of sphere, and all roads appear to be leading towards meditation. So our good friend Ben, you hear us talk about Ben all the time. What's up, Ben? Ben and Emily pushed us to start this podcast. And he recommended this Gaia series by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Rewired. And on episode 1 last night, because he was like, yeah, watch it before bed. So it's like 8:30 at night. we turn it on, you know, it's this super dreamy Joe Dispenza character who like, is he 40? Is he 50? Is he 60? Is he 70? You know, he's one of these guys that are trying to live to be 150 and he kind of has that like immortal look about him. And so he's talking about like, you know, mind control, changing your mind. You know, it's not cause and effect. It's causing an effect, you know, all these really cerebral things. And yeah, 4 minutes later, we were dead asleep. So I don't know if that's meditation, but hey, if you need help sleeping, turn on Rewired by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Totally. And I mean, obviously a lot of you out there are going to be like, yeah, Joe Dispenza, duh. Everyone knows Joe Dispenza. But the thing that I think has kind of kept me from really embracing meditation in my life is I feel like the people I know who are like, oh my God, meditation, it saved me. I love meditating. I need meditating, are people who live a life of stress. And
well, my issue with you
issues.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues.
My issue with you is like you're already enlightened. You came out enlightened.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like when you meditate,
it sounds egotistical, but I actually think that maybe I have like 8 past lives and I like already learned a lot of the lessons
annoyed with
of my
you.
20s
I want to come back as you. Like where do I sign up for that? Like carefree, like it is what it is.
If you were me, you wouldn't be dating me.
Something awful happens and Kristen's like, this too shall pass, Jill. Everything's okay. And
I know, like, I'm the worst at like, that rat beep, bleep, beep. You're so right. They're so wrong. Let's get them. I can't believe they said that. I'm sitting there going, well, if you think about their perspective, you could understand why they might be a little frustrated by the way you said something. He's like, why aren't you on my side?
All right, so maybe I'm trying to learn to meditate.
And I'm supporting your meditation career.
The other kind of interesting, I don't know, life change is, you know, we're kind of these people that, I don't want to say every night, but yeah, a lot of nights I'll have a beer or I'll have 2 beers. And yeah, we've done that, I don't know, since Silicon Valley. And we're not the people who are like, oh, it's Friday night, we're going to binge. And then the other 6 nights a week, we're really good. That's not our style. But I was just thinking, I want to treat this year like I'm like pregnant. You know, a lot of people don't drink for a year. I'm playing pro pickleball. So I'm just like going 100% off the sauce. Addiction super runs in my family. I don't feel addicted to alcohol, but you don't feel that now. Or are you going to feel that in 10 years, 20 years? And I think that book we're listening to talks about, if you're drinking alcohol and you're drinking it regularly, you're like this bee that flies into the flower and there's this really juicy, succulent, silky nectar. And so you're at the top of the flower. You don't realize you're sliding down slowly into the heart of the flower where you're going to die. And there's all the corpses of the bees, not to be too macabre.
The nectar you're drinking is the corpses of the other bees.
Oh, I forgot about that. Kristin, you're dark.
Hey, I didn't write it. I just remembered it.
And so this book by Annie Grace called The Naked Mind is really talking about, you know, if you drink and you drink semi-regularly, you are in some part of that nectar funnel, like guaranteed.
Yeah. And more than just like, oh, drink, don't drink, alcoholism, you know, take it seriously. To me, I think it's really evident of looking critically at all of your thoughts and taking stock of like, why do I have this thought? I jokingly was like laughing when we got to a part and I was like, you know, I honestly do think I could drink non-alcoholic beer. Like, I like the taste of beer. And then the next chapter in the book was like lies we tell ourselves. For example, I like the taste. And they're like, think about it. Your first drink ever. You were like, gross. And then you learned to like it because you thought you wanted to be cool.
Oh my God, that was so funny. So yeah, pickleball pregnant and off the sauce. We'll let you know how that's going.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the effects.
Introducing the Infinite Solar Backpack from Ruck. Power up your adventures on the pickleball court or anywhere with sustained energy. Charge on the go with the built-in solar panel. Keep meals cold in the insulated meal compartment. And store dirty clothing in the water-resistant laundry area. Stay connected and never miss a moment. Get yours now at ruckpack.com.
Okay, we're going to move on to a merger update between PPA and MLP. We are hearing March for the closing. So to those of you who said Valentine's Day,
Yes, that was the seemingly theme of the guesses. A lot of people think there's going to be some MLP PPA love in the air on Valentine's Day. And I don't know if they were doing that to be funny, but I was like, oh, February 14th again.
Really funny. I love our listeners. So we are hearing March for closing. And you guys, if this is the case, there will be a mandatory $15 fee to listen to the podcast. Otherwise, we are not making our mortgage payment. Kidding. We're kidding. Are we kidding?
We're here to announce Patreon is now open.
Okay.
at.
In all seriousness, there are, 3 seemingly major impediments to closing the merger right now. So number 1 is the outstanding player contracts. Those players like myself and many others who have not signed these new co-deals. And remember, from early on in this process, MLP kept saying, we've got everyone we want. 90% of these deals are done. And we kept saying, that's not true. That's not true. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the numbers. And so obviously they don't have the majority of these player contracts done. They still, it seems like Dundon at the last minute has said, I don't want to close now unless we can get these contracts assigned over. So I think on another podcast, it was like, yeah, Jilly B is going to be, the last holdout. I think that's true and not true. Remember, I'm not anti-merger. I'm not anti people signing new co-agreements. I'm pro fair deals for players.
Totally.
So make fair and reasonable offers to the players. So that's number 1 as an impediment. Number 2 is Duper. So remember, pickleball brackets, pickleball tournaments, all owned by Dundon under his pickleball.com umbrella. They have a ton of data. They have a ton of match data, and your rating is only as good as the data that goes into it. So in their eyes, he's like, hey, I'll start my own rating. I want to start my own rating. I already got the place to be for events and matches. I'm going to start my own rating. And that is, from what I understand, a violation of the original terms of the merger.
And that being the original 2022 merger?
The
new remerger
from August.
Alan Jason
era.
Yeah.
So I think there's also probably subconsciously a lot of like Tom versus Steve. Steve left with Duper, right? Duper spun out, and Steve is still a major investor in Duper, even though the new board came in and new investors came in with David Cass and Andre Agassi. So I think there's a lot of like, screw you, Steve, probably in that from Dundon. And then,
at the reality, it's screw you at least 10 to 20 owners.
Yeah, who are all investors in
MLP
Duper
teams,
still.
So they want the Duper to succeed too.
Yeah. So I think number 3 is Dundon wants this letter of indemnification for all the team owners, basically to hold him harmless from anything he has done or will do in the future. So he's obviously learned a lot from the debacle and the bankruptcy of the, I always butcher this name, but his American Football League. I think it was like the Alliance of the American Football League, if memory serves me correctly. So I think he's going to have a lot of trouble getting that done unless he then does the same and holds harmless all the team owners who tried to subvert the merger, hold harmless the players, and anyone else. So unless there's this mutual indemnification, I don't know how that's going to get done. So to me, it feels like all 3 of those on their own are deal breakers, like are big, big, big points to overcome. And you've got 3 of them.
Yeah. So then it just comes down to the debate of like, who's more likely to capitulate? Is Dundon going to be like, okay, I'll give you what you want? Or MLP owners going to be like, well, we're nothing without you. So
every day the merger doesn't close is just leverage lost by MLP. I mean, one of those entities, PPA or MLP, continues to get stronger every day, and the other continues, in my opinion, to get weaker.
Just by virtue of the fact that TPA is playing events, showing events on TV.
It's operating their business.
Operating
and
their
MLP's
business.
canceling the draft, canceling this, like delaying this. It's like,
which begs the question,
you just lose leverage.
Is there a world where MLP's like, okay, just like last year, we're going to run events without this merger being done, but then it's like, oh, well, are Ben and Anna Lee playing?
I said from the beginning, it was
catch-22.
wild that we as MLP players are even allowed to be playing PPA events right now. So it's been publicly reported multiple times that you have to ask permission, right? Because you've got PPA players with PPA contracts, MLP players with active MLP contracts. Those are exclusive. Everyone knows that. So if an MLP player wants to play a PPA event or an APP event or the Indian Open or XYZ, they have to ask permission. So why would MLP allow their assets to go play these PPA events, strengthen and bolster these events while the merger is not closed? I think is interesting. I think it's the wrong move. I think it's strange. I don't understand it. And look at the PPA events. Look who's in the semifinals, the finals. It's a lot of MLP players, signed MLP players.
Yeah. And
So-
I mean, notably the Johnson Five have
They're done.
abstained.
They're done now.
From this last Scottsdale Desert Ridge event, and they're not going to play Mesa. So
I think if
wonder
your only
anyone else will follow
leverage
suit.
are these exciting, amazing players, and
you're
you're
not
giving
gonna
that
run an
away, it emboldens Dundon at the last second to make up all these new abstract terms, to ask for these arbitrary terms at the last minute, because he's feeling like he's got all the leverage. And
Yeah.
you've given up your only leverage. Again, these are just my opinions. And it's no like knock on MLP. I'm not trying to disparage MLP here. I'm just saying like,
No, and I think
it's
a
my
lot of
opinion.
people have probably shared that opinion.
Right.
And it's not the most crazy thing to wonder, like, oh, why aren't they just telling everyone who signed an MLP contract not to play? So you got to think that it must have something to do with wanting not to further anger players. Because otherwise, it doesn't.
yeah,
make a
players would
lot
have
of
nothing
sense.
to play. So you're probably right. That probably is the reason.
So, yeah, in this seemingly unsurmountable hill they have to climb the merger, our theme of the day today is progress and only progress.
It's the theme of the day.
Which is to say that sometimes you face a task that seems so difficult you don't even know how to start. And you have to remind yourself that every step along the way is progress. And it's really hard sometimes to see the small changes, the small switches we make. The first night you don't drink a beer, you're like, I don't know, did I sleep better? Maybe. But as you keep making progress,
Well said.
you look back and you see, wow, look how far I've come.
I feel bad for all the listeners who are like, can we go back to the comedy podcast? This is getting self-helpy.
Let's hope that most of our listeners are into the self-help part.
We hope so.
I will say, and I keep going back to this, our recovery tips podcasts were one of our earliest and most popular pods.
Okay. All right.
So speak to the masses. Hey, there's a reason that the self-help industry is a big one. We should do those by the numbers.
Oh man, we should actually. You want to talk about
I do
desert?
have to say real quick that our friends that we always talk about, Ben and Emily, were so early adopters of Tony Robbins that they went to an Anthony Robbins conference. That's how early they were on that bandwagon.
Why does that make me laugh so much?
I think it's hilarious.
The one before that was Antonio Robbins. Oh my god.
Okay,
All
so Desert Ridge.
Yeah, let's talk about Desert Ridge.
What a trip. Nice to be able to drive from home. Nice to have my family in town. Team Malibu. Oh yeah, I was going to wear the Malibu shirt. I couldn't find it. I found these Malibu sweatshirts at Ross before the event, and I thought it'd be hilarious for my parents and I to wear them because Jill was playing with fellow Pepperdine.
Alum.
Pepperdine is in Malibu. Christine Maddox. So we were Team Malibu.
Yeah, that was super cute. So Desert Ridge finish tied for 9th in both women's and mixed. Let's go. Feeling so strong. Like this is such a great start of the year. I feel like Christine and I are going to end up on a podium, maybe a few, seriously.
Yeah, took Callie and Lucy to 3 games. Epic battle.
Let's talk actually mixed first. So Jaume played singles and I was watching on Thursday because we got there on Thursday and I'm like, oh my God, we just really should never play together again. He's limping on the court. He's pulled a muscle. If he hasn't pulled a muscle, I've pulled a muscle. Like we are the worst two to ever put together, as Alex Hunt from Hype Nation said. No, all joking aside, obviously, Jaume, love playing with him. But yeah, he was limping in the semifinals against Jay de Villiers in singles. And so fast forward to the next morning, and we go out to play in qualifying.
Qualifying queen.
Somehow qualifying again, which we'll talk about later. And the first 2 points go by, and I'm like, oh my God, he like wasn't there on my left foot to take the middle ball. Like he like literally cannot move. And he looks at me and goes, Jill, I think you should play left. Go play left. I can't turn to my left. You go play left. And I'm like, well, I love playing left, right? But I didn't warm up on I didn't even like hit a single cross court. Yeah, my brain's wired for right. And I'm like, oh my God. So I play left. And then he's like, it warms up a little bit and he switches back halfway through. And I don't know, we win that like 15-4. So I don't remember because it was games to 15 because of a rain delay from the night before. So then we go to our second game. And right before that, I'm like warming up on the left. I'm like hitting 100 cross court left side dinks, feeling really good on the left. So we play the first point. He goes, Jill, you play right. I'm feeling good. I can play the left. And I'm like, I just warmed up on the left. So we win that one, I don't know, 15-5 against Rachel James and Johnny Goldberg. So then we go in the main draw against Spencer Smith and Susanna Barr. And like, it's not going well. He like can't move. I'm out of sorts. I don't know.
Susanna burns behind him like six times.
I'm hitting like high cross court dinks to Susanna. She's hitting winners down Jaume's line. And I'm like, Jaume, just protect your line. I'll protect middle. He goes, stop hitting your dinks so high and I won't have to worry about it. And so we're like brother, sister, laughing, fighting on the court, which I think is like really special. Like when you can fight with your partner and you have so much mutual respect for them and you are like brother, sister. And I think we both left that being like, yeah, I need a dink lower. And he's like, yeah, maybe I need to cover line a little bit better. So we pull that one out in 3. And every match he's getting a little bit warmer. And we go to play against Jay de Villiers and Callie. And we also win that one in 3. And I felt so bad for him because he's in so much pain. He's not being fiery or energetic. At one point, I'm like, I have 3 opponents on the court. Like, come on, Jaume, where's my Spaniard? But he was in so much pain. Then we got to the Christian Alshon and Catherine match, and we had a chance to win the second game because the wind was only because of the wind. Like, it was so much easier to win on one side than the other. But Jaume was toast by that point.
Yeah, he was
so we lost, and they played great.
He looked like the person at the end of like an ultra marathon. It's like, one more step, progress is progress. One more step.
He knew the theme of the day. He knew the theme of the day in advance. Progress.
Totally. And all the while, he's like, oh my God, I got to play on Sunday in the finals of singles.
I could like literally barely return Christian's serve. He's hitting it so hard, that freaking Paddle Tech paddle. I do not think that's what Paddle Tech is selling at like Dick's Sporting Goods. Like that thing. And he is so good. I mean, we didn't talk about him as a player to watch because, I mean, he just won MVP in Premier.
These players to watch for players you might not be thinking about.
But I mean, every time he steps on a court, he's better and better. He hit me harder than I have ever been hit in my life. I was so pissed because I turned my back. Mm-hmm. And I felt like he could have gone anywhere. And I turned my back and I said dead seriously in like a very calm voice, I go, are you serious? Did you really just do that? We got to show you the photos of the welt. And it's getting darker legendary. Every single day on my behind.
Did you get cupped on your leg? No, I got Christian.
He was super sweet. He felt bad. He actually like missed his next 3 shots, I think, because he felt bad. But Catherine Parento, just such a fantastic player. And they were a great team. I think they made it to the semifinals.
I think so. Yeah.
So I hope they play again. They were just a lovely, lovely team. And then I learned more in that tournament, Phoenix Desert Ridge, than I've ever learned in my life. Like in rec play, in months of working on stuff. Christian's serve was so big. I finally, after that, felt like I had figured out how to return the ball more effectively. So went into women's doubles, returning the best I've ever returned, the deepest I've ever returned, because I had to struggle against his serve so badly. In women's doubles, I totally learned like the recipe physically for success, which is a ketone IQ, half a rainstorm, and then a ketone IQ 3 hours later. And I was like, locked in women's doubles. We took Callie
Yeah.
and Lucy to 3 games. It was 8-all in the third. We were right freaking there. And this is with Christine Maddox, who just started playing and 2 weeks ago started resetting balls from the midcourt and is still mastering third shot drops. Like, she is 30% her total potential in terms of how good she will be.
Yeah, I agree. She's like 20% better every time we see her. What do you think is the balance, though, between the ketone, the rain, and what you eat? Because there's this blend of you're starving, you're alert, you're like, where's my next meal? And hunt that ball, versus I'm calorie depleted and my muscles are not functioning.
I think what I love about this, like, caffeine plus the ketone is the way you want to feel on a pickleball court, to me, is slow mind, like slow brain, where everything's moving in slow motion, the ball's moving in slow motion, but fast body, like fast reactions, fast feet, fast hands. So I think the caffeine wakes your body up and the ketone slows your brain down, slows your mind down, and calms your nervous system down.
I think what you're actually saying is the opposite, that it speeds your mind up, that everything else feels relatively slower coming at you.
Yeah, but your heart rate, like, yes, I agree with you, but all I can tell you is my brain feels slow, my heart rate feels calm. Maybe I shouldn't use the word slow. Calm. Everything's very calm.
Yeah, everything that comes at you, you're like, I can do that.
Yeah, like Callie and Lucy are like supposed to be this really hard-hitting team. Nothing felt fast to me.
Yeah.
So I think Christine and I are going to be so dangerous together because, like, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting through us. Like, you're going to have to dink us to death. And she's going to be really good at dinking. She already is, but she's even going to be better in 2 months.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get through us. You just aren't.
I know.
And you're not going to be able to lob us.
Wingspan, let alone your defensive skills. Yeah.
So you better hope you're going to hit really low dinks to us, because the first high one, we're going to attack.
And you're going to just strike fear in a lot of the competition. So I'm excited to see the evolution. I really like this idea of you on the left creating and
opportunities for her
sliding in and almost hitting tomahawks from the right.
Yeah. She got called on her grip, or her serve, like in our third point against Lucy and Callie. She has this ultra Western grip where, right, it's like almost like jack sock, but crazier. And we'll show an image of it. And the ref calls her and she tried to tell him, like, hey, no, it looks like my wrist is up. It's not. Yeah. And so we slowed it down. We have an image of it. And I think the ref was wrong.
Can I explain my grip?
You can do that, but you have to have your paddle below your wrist, like that. Yes, up here. Second serve.
And that ended up affecting Christine really badly, like really rattled her the rest of the match because she was so worried about her form on her serve. And we usually win like 4 free points a game on her serve. And so instead I was like, well, hey, we're not winning points on her serve and we're losing them because she's missing her serve. I'm going to serve bigger.
Why
and
not?
that was a good lesson for me. And in the final point of our Callie and Jay DeVilliers mixed match, Jaume looks at me, and we should play this point, and goes, should I crank my serve? And it's like 10-9 in the third, and he's on a 2. We're on a second serve. And he goes, should I crank my serve? I go, hit it as frickin' hard as you can. And he steps back 3 feet, cranks a serve, gets a super short ball from Callie, and hits an inside-out slow winner.
I loved that so much.
So
that might be my favorite moment of the weekend.
It really was.
And I was standing right behind the windscreen on the baseline, so I heard the whole thing. I was like, yes, crank it.
Which was another good lesson. Like I said, I learned more from this tournament than I've ever learned. Crank your serve.
An evolution from the Dream Breaker that we had in Dallas, right? Where you turned to Jaume and you were like, where should I hit this? And he was like, I don't know, just hit it in.
Yeah.
And now fast forward and it's like, yeah, crank the serve on game point. Crank it. And you have to always ask yourself, what kind of a shot do I want to hit if I'm going to miss, you know?
No.
You don't want to go out timid. Timid is never the answer.
I couldn't agree more.
Any sport. So There was one other thing you didn't mention, and that is, how many balls did you have to switch out? Like, do you think that this ball is a keeper? Like we said, like Tyson's complaining about the ball. The out of roundness is kind of the more significant thing, which is
remember when we talked about the Masters, and I said, God, there were all these really weird bounces, and I was attributing that to the courts at the Masters. I think it was the ball.
It was the ball.
And Lucy in our match, ref probably threw her like 2 or 3 brand new balls, and she threw them in the air and was like, no. And I don't think she's wrong. So
they actually ran out of balls. A different ref had to come bring you guys another ball.
They're wobbly.
And I don't think they're going to get rid of the contract, but I think Vulcan maybe needs to go back to their R&D and maybe stamp Vulcan on a different ball.
Well, it's funny, right? When like Selkirk has the S1 and it's like 1 year crack-free or crack-proof warranty. And in my head, I read that and I think you want a ball to crack in a year.
Yeah.
I don't think you want a ball to last a year.
No, totally.
Because the pressure has to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? It's going to wobble. It's going to get, right?
Yeah, and maybe this is the wrong analogy, but the better the ball in golf, generally the less durable.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, they've definitely improved the durability factor compared to the days of wound balls, and you'd have like a full smiley face on your ball, but definitely makes you wonder if it's not cracking, that's what's like the pressure is creating flat spots. But then again, these are new balls coming out with flat spots, so I don't know. Maybe they're just, heavy spots. But we'll see what happens. So yeah, lots of fun, interesting venue. I think it's a nice venue. It's like an upscale place, but it's so hard to get around. You're really in alleyways there.
I think it's still so wild that I guess we don't have gambling going on right now, but if and when we do, like I'm on these courts and I can't ATP because the fence is right there. Like I'm talking literally like 2.5 feet, not like I'm complaining like, oh, it's a little tight. Like, no, it's impossible. So I kind of wonder when we're all going to grow up enough to have pro courts. I think that having these amateur tournaments concurrent to the pros is such a bad look for the sport. I think it's cool to have amateurs interacting with pros, but can we have the amateur event 3 days before the pro event and create, you know what I mean?
A win-win. It's just not a great experience for
Is there a
everyone.
way for pros to end up on courts that allow them to have enough space to return the ball, to allow them to be able to ATP effectively? I think we need that if we want to professionalize the sport, if we want to have gambling in the sport, and then to have courts with impossible viewership does no one good.
Yeah. Well, I feel
what's the point of having like the pros and the amateurs together if you can only see grandstand and center court?
Yeah. Well, I feel like at Darling, for example, those upper back courts have
Great
a pass through on all 4 sides. So you have a 4-pack of courts and there's a place to stand around at least one side of each of the 4 and then another 4 with the same thing. They could kind of artificially create that by just opening the alleyways to those courts. Like all of your matches were played in the same section of 8 courts. And then there were 2 that had grandstand viewing, or I guess 4 that had grandstand viewing, and then another 4 that were just like in the hinterlands. So.
I feel bad for all the PPA signed players that have to play me and Jaume because you're just guaranteed the worst court.
You even know your court assignment beforehand. Which
I'm just walking
the corner and the worst, no viewability whatsoever. That's the Jaume Jill court. Oh man. But yeah, again, big props to Jaume in what some people are calling the most exciting singles match of all time.
Huge props.
Even though he did come out on top. I think in the interview, Federico was like, at some point, I think, the crowd wanted him to win. And even I kind of wanted him to win.
So next up, we have Mesa. And I'll be really curious, Jaume and I now had a great start to our year at the Masters, obviously a great last tournament in Phoenix. We've beaten Colin and Colin Johns and Brooke Buckner, Susanna Barnes Spencer, Callie and Jay. And are we going to be put into qualifying again next week? I texted Bryce Morgan, Chief Operating Officer of the PPA, and I said, Bryce, please, in as simple terms as possible, explain to me why are Jaume and I continuously in qualifying? I have points from last year. I played PPA all last year. And we've obviously had a great start to the year, finishing tied ninth, but tied for
ninth, yeah.
Ninth, but at the Masters.
Oh, this week, yeah. I think tied for 17th or
Tied
whatever.
for 17th at the Masters, tied for ninth. Like, walk me through this. And he was just like, oh, yeah, I also think maybe your points should suffice from last year. We haven't done the draws yet for next week. Let's see how it goes. Because I'm just scratching my head. I mean, is it literally the only reason that we haven't taken a reduction?
Well, in the
our
world
MLP
of what
contracts?
they do publish, this is the question. So they start with top 10 ranking. So
Okay.
unless your points get you all the way past number 11, then you're like, okay, so you're not in that category.
Okay, so I'm not in that.
Then PPA touring players.
Okay, I'm
so
not a
anyone
PPA
who's
touring player.
officially a PPA touring player, like if Allie Phillips played with Caitlin Christian.
But there are a bunch of others.
Then
But there are a
PPA
bunch
touring
of
players playing with non-PPA touring players. Then committee seeds, which are just the 13 and 14, and then the rest of the points. But that means that there are enough PPA signed players playing with each other. It's almost better if they play with each other, because if they don't play with each other, then that's a whole nother category of people that may have fewer points than you.
MLP players who have agreed to take a reduction are not PPA touring players. Just because they've signed a new co-contract, that merger hasn't happened. You can't
So you're
treat
saying,
them
like,
like PPA touring players.
But then you get into Anna and James are top 10.
Yeah, they're top 10, so they fall into this first category, top 10 ranking. But like Tyra Black and Augie Ga were in the main draw. Okay, Tyra's not a PPA touring player. She's an MLP player.
So I don't know. I mean, we obviously could go through. I'll post the bracket and like circle all the teams that are seemingly in the main draw without having more points than you.
Yeah,
and
want to
not
be treated
being
fairly.
a PPA signed player. Because there's still a lot of people in there where it's a 1 and 1. So I guess that hopefully after these last 2 events, you'll have enough points to squeak on in there. Time will tell.
So next up, Mesa, if you are there, will you please come up and say hi? Come say hi to us. We love meeting listeners of the pod. I love taking photos. Ron and Wendy, thank you so much for the keychain that says Toby with a cat paw. So sweet. Thank you so much for cheering during our Spencer and Susanna match. And I hope to see you guys in Mesa. So yeah, come out and say hi to us. We love that. I'm playing with Jaume again and Christine. So first time in my life, I'll have 3 straight tournaments with the three same partners. And I gotta say, it's really nice.
Nice. And I get to reuse my Team Malibu shirt.
Jaume will be fully recovered, so I'm sure we'll do awful. So yeah, that's Mesa next week.
Did you want to talk about Callie switching paddles?
God, I think that story is so funny.
I don't think anyone would mind. She must be a free agent right now.
Yeah.
She's obviously dropped Onyx and is shopping for paddles.
Yeah. So when we played Callie and Jay in mixed, Callie was playing a Yola and I was winning 8 out of 10 cross-court forehand dink battles with her. And so she'd usually miss him in the net and then look down at her paddle. And I was like,
and in fairness, you have gotten a lot better.
A lot better on the right.
So
I
it's
am
hard
a
to
right
blame
side
the paddle,
queen. Let's
but-
be realistic. So she was looking down at her paddle and I was like, oh man, yeah, she's playing a Yola. Interesting. And then the next day she's playing a Selkirk, the pink and blue one.
Yeah.
And I'm
I stepped on court too,
which
and
are totally different paddles. I could not imagine going in a tournament from a Yola to the Selkirk Power Air, very different paddles.
Yeah. What is the difference? Maybe, I don't know. Is one more of a spin paddle? And one's more of a power paddle? Or they're just very
Selkirk
different feel because of the edgeless?
Is edgeless. You've got the open neck.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
It,
the
flexes
carbon
different,
fiber
right?
grit. It's just 2 polar opposite paddles.
So interesting.
But she must have been so traumatized in her mixed loss.
No, she actually said
she
that to you. I mean, I don't know if she was joking.
Couldn't believe she was losing cross-court dink battles with me, so she had to totally change a paddle.
Hey, it worked. They made it all the way to the semis, so you guys were like one of their toughest matches.
Ugh. 8-all in the third. We were right there. So yeah, we hope to see y'all in Mesa. All right, we have a fascinating by the numbers for you.
By the numbers. By the numbers.
So we crunched, and by we, I mean KDubs, the average age of the top pro players.
Top 30 men and
By
women.
Duper, top 30 men and women. KDubs, I haven't seen these results. I am titillated.
Okay, first of all, I want you to guess who's older, the men or the women?
Ooh, the men.
The women.
Shoot.
Yeah, we got the Anna Lee and the Georgia, but those are offset in the men's side by Hayden and Gabe.
Okay.
And I think CJ's in there now too.
Okay, yeah, I
but
should've
it's
known.
very close. The overall average age is...
Can I guess? Can I guess? For women?
Total, just for either. They're almost
Okay,
identical. The
30
difference between men
31,
and women
I'm gonna
is
guess.
0.23.
Okay, I'm going to guess 31 is the average age.
The average is 29.18
Wow.
years old. Now, keep in mind, these are pickleball years. So if your birthday is gonna happen, it already happened. So, they might
Interesting.
skew slightly older, but definitely not young.
Who are the oldest in the top 30 in the men and the women? Like, give me the top 5 oldest, but don't do it if I'm in there.
Well, it's not Tyson. He is only 34, but it is Matt Wright. And
How old's Matt?
I think
50?
I don't think Deacon's in the top 30. Matt Wright is 46.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there are two 44-year-olds on the women's side. Can you guess who that might be?
Simone, Irina.
Is Irina that old? It is Neva Radzikowska, and
Simone.
Yeah.
So Matt Wright on the men's. Who's the second oldest on the men's?
Second oldest male is gonna be, I think, Eric,
Nice.
42.
Got it.
He's
okay.
rolling in at 26th right now.
That's so cool by the
yeah.
numbers.
Oh, but he was edged out slightly by John Sincola, who I actually didn't know.
I thought John Sincola was like 25. John,
Yeah.
you look great.
Keep it up, buddy.
That's cool. I know. I love that pickleball. I wonder if that will maintain, or every year just get progressively a little younger.
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah, you gotta
But I appreciate that pickleball is, as Zane always says, and many people always say, chess on concrete. It's a little bit more mental, a little less physical than tennis. Less court coverage, I should say.
Yeah.
Less court coverage.
What's also cool, and I think there was an era like this in the senior tour for golf, where all of a sudden it was like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer were on the senior tour, and it was like the golden era of the senior tour. I think you're going to get that cool effect on the senior side of pickle, because every year some big names from the like original pickleball era will pop into the 50 plus, and you'll just get like a slow dose of 50-year-olds that'll make the senior tour kind of continuously compelling.
Nice. If the game starts to pass me by, I can play 35 plus soon.
50-35 plus, watch out!
With you.
Oh no.
Get on that sideline, put
always
your
tell
paddle
people-
up.
The best thing about us is we will never play a tournament together.
That's what you think. All right, we've got a really great Dear Jilly B today. Dear Jilly B, what was the best advice you've ever received from another coach or pro? That's a really good question. I would say most of my advice is from other coaches or pros, to be candid. Life is a learning journey, and I am so grateful to have had some amazing partners like Sarah Ansbury, who has taught me a ton about myself and about the game. And the best advice she ever gave me is this notion of 0-0. And I think it's the best advice I've ever received to this day. Play every single point like it's 0-0. And I used to do this in tennis, And somehow it escaped me in pickleball until Sarah reminded me of it, because she was saying, hey, when it's, 10-8 or 10-9, you start to play differently. And it wasn't that I was getting tight or nervous. It was that I was trying to play outside of myself. I was trying to do something spectacular, but you've got to remember that what got you here will get you there.
Yeah.
And so just telling yourself that the point is 0-0 is the single lowest lift, highest impact piece of advice I've ever received. Some pieces of advice are super high lift, high impact. Learning a one-handed backhand flick, changing your grip to have quicker hands and more consistency. Those are high impact but really high lift pieces of advice. This is a simple mental trick of 0-0. It really takes the cake. So big thanks to Sarah Ansbury for that advice.
Yeah, super, super solid. Golf, they always talk about one shot at a time, staying in the present, or like breaking things down into just like dosages you can handle in the moment. And I think that encompasses all of that.
Yeah. You don't need to be something other. You just need to be you. You're enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always say that, like, sometimes you end up in difficult shots, or you're like, I got to go under a tree and over a bunker. It's like, well, which shot can you hit? Because that's the only shot you need to hit right now. And sometimes that means hitting it straight sideways back into the fairway, but commit the heck out of the shot you're hitting. I think sometimes people get on the court in pickleball and they think, oh my God, this person's hitting it so hard, I have to try and hit it hard. And it's like, no, just make them run, make them play your game.
Yeah.
Totally. So do you want to talk about how to get over tournament nerves?
Absolutely. So another Dear Jilly B was, Dear Jilly B, how do I get over tournament nerves? I feel like I'm never going to get there. Every tournament I play, I feel so nervous. This is a really great question. And the simple truth is you will always
Don't play tournaments.
Kristin, thank you for that wisdom bomb you just dropped on us.
I do what I can, take 2 weeks off and quit. My favorite shot in pickleball is the leave. I got all of them.
So the truth of the matter is, embrace the tournament nerves. That's why we play tournaments. So this notion of get over it and I want my tournament nerves gone, no, that's never going to happen. But you learn to live with your tournament nerves. They become a friend that you enjoy spending time with.
Totally.
And you get more and more accustomed to those nerves by doing one thing and one thing only, and that's playing tournaments. I'm telling you guys, I'm a pro, and at Phoenix Desert Ridge, I improved more and learned more about myself and my game in one tournament than I ever would have in a month of daily rec play. So you have these learning opportunities that present themselves in tournaments that is almost impossible to replicate in your rec play life. But if you don't have an opportunity to play a tournament, play in a league, local league, put a little money on the line in your next rec play game. Say, hey, the last game, let's play for who buys lunch tomorrow.
Yeah. Play a posted round in Duper.
Yeah, exactly. Post the scores to Duper. So the more you can emulate nerves in your daily life, the less the nerves will impact you. They're not going to go away, right? We're not trying to remove the nerves. We're trying to emulate them and become friends with them. So the next time you feel it, it's not shocking. It's not jumping into a cold plunge. It's, oh, I felt a little bit like this last week in that Duper match I played.
Yeah. Or, drink ketone. But I have one more stupid KW advice. And I do think this is actually not stupid, because I have a secret power in pickleball.
What's the secret power?
That
I'm your coach?
Nothing could be worse than a golf tournament.
True.
So no matter how nervous I feel in pickleball,
True.
Nothing could ever compare to a 3-foot putt that matters on a golf course in a tournament. And
True.
So if you feel like you're always overwhelmed by the nerves you feel in pickleball, go play a golf tournament, and then you'll have something really to compare it to. And I have this theory that sort of the nervous system has on or off. There is no sliding scale. You're either nervous or you're calm. And sometimes certain tournaments, certain moments of tournaments, you'll feel one and then it'll go away. And sometimes it lasts longer. And all you can do is embrace the fact that your physiology, when you're under stress, can help you. Stress is not always a bad thing. And a friend of mine, actually, who has multiple degrees from Stanford and Yale and Harvard, if you can believe it. Sorry, Harvard and Yale. Her brother went to Stanford. Did this really cool TED Talk on stressors and how to embrace it. And basically, they found that there are certain stressors that are chemical to your brain, or that are detrimental to your brain, and other stressors that are enhancing of your game. And so I think if you can just combine the Joe Dispenza, your thoughts can change you. If you take those nerves and you go, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Nerves mean I care, and my body has switched on and I'm on the hunt now. I'm going to play great. It doesn't matter if you feel a little shaky. The shakes are just alertness. Use it.
Yeah, use it. My mom used to say, take your nerves, turn it into footwork.
Love that. Yeah. And so much of pickleball is like fast feet, calm hitting.
Yep, 100%.
So hope that helps you guys.
Our last Dear Jilly B is, Dear Jilly B, you obviously have a signature paddle. It's that beauty right there. But you don't talk a lot about it. What is so great about the signature paddle? So this is a really good question. Yeah, I don't talk a lot about my signature paddle. It's a 13 millimeter. Love the thin frame. Super gritty carbon fiber thermoformed paddle. So what makes it so unique, so special, is you've got a little bit of a longer handle. So every pro that touches my paddle is like, dude, my hands feel so comfortable. This is like the perfect grip length. So whether you're one-handed or two-handed, I think the grip is awesome on it. And it's that ultimate blend of the thermoformed power, but a ton of control with the maximum spin allowed on a paddle. And I think what I see the most in players who play it is they get their dinks down. They're dinking better. So a lot of players are like, oh, I want a power paddle. And they're just hitting like pop-ups over and over and over to their competition. So this paddle is going to give you all the power you need, but it's going to allow you to dink like a pro. Like you feel like you're in total control at the line.
Puppet master.
Yeah. So to me, I would say, the grip, the power, but the control with the dinking is what sets it apart. So if you are looking for a new paddle, you can go to GRUVN.co, GRUVN.co. You can use code JILLYB for a discount. And check out the Jilly B signature 13X move-in paddle.
Yeah, the pink one comes with the Jilly B signature, and those are in short supply, so get there fast.
And there's a white one, no signature, if you don't like pink.
Yeah, and a purple too.
Yeah, and a purple. Those are some good colors.
I think is it white or is it just pink? Oh yeah, your sister had the signature with a white edge guard, and then there's the purple one without the signature.
Right.
Yeah. So it's an amazing paddle. It was in kind of short supply when we first designed it. And so I was not hitting it. And now we've got enough that I was hitting it the other day for the first time, really. And I was like, wow, I think this might be my paddle.
That was probably one of the funnier moments was when you were like, hey, I really like your signature paddle. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Of course you do. It's a great paddle. I wouldn't play it if it weren't. And then for those of you that don't know, I spent like 4 months testing literally 100 paddles trying to find my favorite paddle. And that's how I found GRUVN. Tried everything. Selkirk, Yola, Carbon. They're all awesome paddles, but there was nothing I liked more than the GRUVN.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing era. Like you said in the earlier business section, that we're seeing so many paddles come out every year, every month practically. So it'll be really interesting to see which paddle companies really last, and which have the stamina to stick around.
The last thing I think is so cool about the GRUVN is that what's a $169 price point with my code. You know, you've got these Yola paddles, these Carbon paddles, these Selkirk paddles at this like
$161, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You've got this like $220 to $250 price point for a lot of other thermoform paddles. So I think it's the most affordable thermoform paddle on the market. And it's so funny because when I meet people who play GRUVN, they go, I've never returned a GRUVN. Like I've been playing my GRUVN for over a year.
Totally.
And then you've got a lot of people playing other paddles that are like, yeah, it's delaminated. I'm returning it. And, they say this happens all the time. I'm working with their customer service department. That never happens to GRUVN. I think like one time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I think that's it for Pod 34. And we'll see you next time. Don't forget.
Pickleball is joy.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We out.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by KDubs, editing by KDubs and Jilly B. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for Jilly B? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.